Hello, my name is Jim Campanini, and welcome to On the Go with the LRTA. I'm the moderator. This is our third episode. And like today, this is a historic day in Washington where there's a change of administration going on. I've got the honor today of introducing our own change of administration here at the LRTA, where David Bradley has last month was appointed unanimously by the LRTA's advisory board to succeed longtime administrator Jim Scanlon, who was here for 17 years. David, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you, Jim.
In the appointment. And it's not like you've just showed up on the scene. You've been here for quite a while, haven't you?
I have, Jim. I've been here for about 26 years now. I was hired back in 1995 by Bob Kennedy, and he was a great administrator. And I was hired as the finance director back then.
Wow.
And I was very fortunate when I came in because the finance director that was here before me, he was also the deputy administrator. His name was Tom Henderson, and he was very good. He started me off. He essentially taught me all the finance that I needed to know. He taught me all the federal and state regulations, and he introduced me to all my contacts at the federal and state level. And he was terrific to get a head start on what would end up being a long career for me here at the authority. So I've bounced around a little bit since then. 26 years later, I've served as not only the finance director, but the CFO, and as of the last 5 or 6 years, the deputy administrator under Jim Scanlon.
Yes.
So,
Well, so you've grown up as the agency has progressed, expanded. You've seen it all. I mean, Jim was here for 17 years. You were here. You predated Jim, so it's been quite a run.
yeah, it was interesting when I first started here back in 1995. I think we had 2 or 3 computers within the whole operation. So, technology wasn't as prevalent as it is today, but we've come a long way since then. And I've been very lucky to serve with the people that have made the authority what it is today, namely Bob Kennedy, who again brought me in here. And I spent 7 years with Bob, and he was a terrific advocate for the communities. And when he left, I was very fortunate to have Jim Scanlon come in here.
Yeah. Public transportation has been just so important, especially in urban centers. For a little perspective, when you first joined the LRTA, could you remember how many buses and how many communities? I mean, the service has expanded throughout the years, right?
The service has definitely expanded throughout the years. The communities that we serve have stayed pretty level since I got here. But we've added routes and runs and additional buses throughout the years. So when I first started here, I believe we were probably operating maybe 42 buses at peak. So we're up to about 48 in normal times.
But you also have the paratransit and the
Right, and the paratransit service has expanded greatly because, especially with the aging population, those baby boomers, they're starting to hit, or they have been hitting our service within the last couple of years. And we sort of planned for that 3 years before that group was hitting. So we increased our services for paratransit, and we updated our fleets to be prepared for that. And up till the time of COVID, it was going very well. And even at this point in time with COVID hitting, we're still trying to maintain the social distancing and covering 100% of our routes that we need to cover.
Yeah. And for the viewing audience, the paratransit buses, those are the 13 passenger buses. You've probably seen them, the Roadrunner service on the lines. And they, they're free. You call up, if you go to the LRTA.com website, you'll see the telephone number for the paratransit services. You call there. There are certain eligibility requirements. That's all on our website. You can read it, but you can take advantage of it even during this these COVID times, they're still maintaining full operations, just like the regular LRTA service. And I've just in the brief time that I've been here, I've learned to appreciate those men and women who work there and do that, because there are still elderly out there who have to get to appointments or go shopping and stuff like that. So it's a great service, and it's available to everyone.
Yeah, and it was free during the COVID period, but now we're back to collecting fares
I
again.
am correct.
So
That's why he's the money man.
So we are, we're trying to make it work for all of us. And beyond the paratransit services and the fixed services that we do within our core community, I don't want to forget that we've got other communities that we also serve. We don't serve them directly, but we do serve them. And I'm speaking about the local council on aging that we operate with. And what we do with them is we subsidize their operations, and we also help them with their capital needs, that being the purchase of their vehicles.
Mhm.
So as they have an aging vehicle that comes up and needs replacement, we'll work with them, supply the vehicle with them to them through the state, and make sure that they have state, that we're maintaining our state of good repair. And we've got these good quality vehicles out there to provide safe and reliable service for the seniors.
So I saw last week when I was down at the McGuire Transportation Center, I saw that the Chelmsford Council on Aging, the bus. So does Drake have one, Billerica, would those be?
Yeah, some of our communities have a single bus, but others have multiple buses.
Yeah.
And that ranged throughout all of our communities. And, even through the COVID period that we've experienced last year, our councils, as well as our local service here, Fixed Route and Paratransit, they've all stepped up, and they've done a tremendous job helping out the people that really need our services. And, and the Council on Aging has, even if they can't provide trips for the clientele out there, they are providing them with essentials, food services, and hospital care. So,
Well, one of the main words I've heard you and Jim and other managers, very well conditioned, efficiency. You're always looking for efficiencies.
right.
And with any operation like this, especially one that has been hit with sensitive to federal and state finances, you have to be very, especially during this period where you're not getting, we went a time there several months without collecting any revenues for fares. And we can get into that about the state of the LRT operations and how they work. But I want to get back to, so you've been here for almost for more than 2 decades, but you've got a passion for public transportation. When did you say, hey, this is, because you could have gone and worked for a lot of financial institutions and I think done pretty well for yourself, but you have to have energy and a passion to stay into these operations. So public transportation, was it something you were always interested in, or just found it and said, this is what I'm happy with?
When I came out of school, I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. So I went to work for a very large firm and manufacturing firm. And after a little while being there, I realized that I was just a number and that I really didn't, my efforts really didn't matter. Would often go unrecognized, the things that you did. So, and fortunately, through the course of events, things happened there, and I eventually got laid off from there. And the timing was actually very, very good. But it did teach me a good lesson that if I was going to the next job that I had, I wanted to make sure that it was a job that I was going to enjoy, that I would be able to build a career around, and that unlike my last job, I wanted to feel like I made a difference and I was helping somebody. So when, I was out of work for about a year looking for the right job, and this came up, and a finance director job came up, I applied for it and was fortunate enough to be brought in. And that started my career here. And the more time that I spent here, the more I realized that it was the right fit for me. Because even though I was locked in my office most of the time, crunching numbers, doing budgets, and writing grants and working with the federal and state government, I knew that at the end of the day, the things that I was doing in my office was affecting the people on the street and our employees. So one of the first things that I did, one of the first challenges that I had when I came in was within the first 12 months, we had to cut $500,000 out of our budget. And we were able to do that without losing any employees.
Wow.
And without changing any of our services. We just had to sharpen our
So you went through the
pencil.
whole operation, big evaluation and assessment.
Right. And I think that's what set us on this path of being conservative, knowing that at any time, funds may not be there that you expect. And I think it helped.
Okay, so that's a good segue. Looking what happened last March, where the roof basically caved in for businesses and government services, and the LRTA was strongly affected. But yet we didn't miss one day. I say this we because I'm here too, part of it. But the LRTA didn't miss one day of service. Bus drivers continued to show up. The maintenance staff working hard, sanitizing buses. How did you get through this with the revenue stream drying up? I mean, we went 4 or 5 months without collecting fares, I believe, and stuff. So, and how do we go forward from here? What's the state of the state?
Well, first of all, we couldn't get to where we are today without the hard work of everybody within the organization. Everyone, and there's no top to bottom. We're all here together. So everybody has pulled their weight for the last 10 months. And quite honestly, the way that we stayed in business, because you're right, halfway through March, we stopped collecting fares on all of our transit services. But at the same time, we lost revenue because of the commuter rail. We manage the commuter rail parking garage here at the Gallagher Terminal in Lowell, and we also manage the North Billerica train stations. So both of those are essentially revenue generators for us. So the more revenue I generate in those locations, we use that money to offset transit services. Mm-hmm. So that goes to pay for that. When all of this hit, we were faced rather quickly with a monthly deficit of over $250,000. And that's every month. And so the only way that we were able to stay in business was through the federal government and coming through with the CARES Act, the first round of CARES money. And that essentially kept us solvent and has kept us solvent to date, because as you can imagine, we're still losing, anywhere from $215,000 to $240,000 a month lost revenues. So that keeps us in business. And without that, I don't know where we would be.
So do you see, have you been seeing any gradual change where riders starting to come back, or do you think it's still going to depend on businesses reopening, the traffic into Boston again?
As far as our core service, which is, of course, transit service within our communities, that's been a slow rebound. Back in March, even when we weren't charging, March, April, May, June, July, ridership was still extremely low. We were probably down to maybe 35% of our normal passenger usage. Since we've come back and things have been reopening, we're more at probably a 55%, a 45% user level. In order for us to get back even higher, I think we need a few things to happen. I think definitely UMass Lowell coming back online, and the community schools coming back online will definitely help. I know we're still in the process of working our way back into it. And I like the idea of us being cautious. So once we get back, maybe once the vaccines take place and people are feeling comfortable, ridership will be up. But I'll take this 1 minute here to just tell people that during this time, we're doing our best to keep our buses safe. We've doubled our calls for disinfecting and cleaning, just to make sure that it is safe for people to ride our buses. So I invite people back and say, we're doing our best to keep you safe. And all we ask is that when you come back, that you do your best to help us keep everyone safe, and you do what you're supposed to do with the masks.
And for regular riders who are familiar with our website, that the many destinations that the LRTA goes to, and we'll be hopefully unveiling a new website by the end of February with new maps, interactive maps, and how you can just plug in your destination from your starting point, and the LRTA website will tell you what buses you have to take, how to get there, and even have your arrival time on there. So it's going to be quite, I think it's quite an achievement. It's been a year-long achievement. So the point I'm trying to make is that the LRTA has not stopped doing things despite the lack of readership. We've still been working here, and Dave was, you've got a lot of projects that have been put on hold that now you, as administrator, are starting to implement again. Can you talk a little about that?
Sure. When Jim was here, we had a very ambitious capital program. And we were fortunate where, and you probably saw in the news last year, that we were awarded a $4.6 million award. And that money that we got was for capital items only. It wasn't for operating. It wasn't to help us out with salaries, payrolls, or anything like that. It was just to help update our infrastructure. That being 8 city buses, full-size city buses. And the past administrator wanted to change up our smaller buses that are on the fixed route service. And so we went with a low floor ramp type vehicle. So it makes it a lot easier for low embarking and disembarking of wheelchairs and other things like that. So that's the other piece of funding that we received through that grant.
Well, so let's look into, so now you're the administrator, Dave Brown, and everybody puts their own imprint, on their organization. And what could we expect to see, do you think? What are some of your priorities going forward, or thoughts on transportation, local transportation?
Yeah, my first priority, which I've been preaching this for years, is safety. Not only for our own employees, but for our customers. I want a safe facility. I want to make sure that we're always got that in our mind. Beyond that, my next thoughts really go to the crisis that we're in the midst of right now. And before I think about putting my imprint on anything, I want to make sure that we get through this in one piece. I want to try to leverage our funding as much as I can to make sure that we can keep all of our services running. I want to make sure that, the essentials that need to be done the replacement of equipment and vehicles that need to happen to maintain that safe environment, that those things take place and take precedence. And, I just, at this point, I want to get to the other side of COVID. And, I do have concerns of, we don't know where this is going. We've already experienced some employees getting sick. But we don't know if it's the end or if it's just the beginning. So before I can answer that question, I just really want to get us through this.
I just thought you might have had a crystal ball in your office.
Yeah, no.
Did you find Jim? But no, that's reasonable, very thoughtful and stuff. And you're right that we're still not out of this. And I think until the vaccines, now the governor has set up the tiered system, and public transit officials will be in that second group after the first responders, medical workers, and nursing home people. So you're looking forward to what, maybe next month, maybe?
Right. We're in, like you said, we're in phase two.
Phase two.
The second tier of phase two. So that looks like it's going to happen starting in February, and it's going to continue that phase through April. So, it'll be interesting to see how all of this plays out. I know it's a 2 vaccine process, so I just want to make sure that everyone reacts well to it, and we can keep our services running for the people who really need it.
Yeah. Well, David, I want to thank you very much for appearing today on the show, and I know we'll have you on again in the future. Any closing thoughts at all for the ridership?
First of all, I want to thank our advisory board for everything that they've left with me. They were very confident in me, and I don't want to let them down. I'm going to work hard while I'm here to make sure that we are safe, that we hit the goals that we have to hit, and that we provide a safe, efficient service for all of our communities, whether it be fixed route, paratransit, or council on aging. That's my main goal, and just keep things going. And I'd like to thank all of the employees that work for the LRTA and the contractors that provide the service for us every day, because they're doing a tremendous job, and we really appreciate everyone's efforts. And these are tough times, so let's get through this stronger than we started.
Very good. And on that, I want to bring a third episode of On the Go with the LRTA to a close. We wish you well, and look forward to our next show in hopefully February. Thank you very much.
Thank you.